In this video, I'm going to give you a few reasons why you should get the Canon 90D, and do stay on to the end of the video to get some tips on how to maximize your Canon camera. In all honesty, I've been using this Canon 90D for quite a while, and I've actually been using it instead of my Canon EOS R, which I have left in my dry cabinet. I have completely not used my EOS R, maybe like once every 3 months. So yeah, this has been my workhorse for, well, ever since I bought this. And it's pretty good, it's done me very well thus far. Image quality on this camera is very good, be it stills or video. It is all pretty sharp, but also it depends on your lens. Okay, when it comes to autofocus, I don't really have to say much because everyone knows about Canon's dual pixel autofocus. The great thing about this compared to other older cameras is that you get dual pixel autofocus in Full HD and 4K. But the problem is that you won't get it in slow motion. Okay, what about the inputs? First, we have the mic jack, we have the headphone jack, we have the HDMI. For me, having the mic and the headphone jack on the camera is very important because one, I need to actually plug in the microphone, and two, I need to actually monitor the audio. So for me, this has become my main camera for most of my projects. The Hdmi Out. This is something that no one really talks about much because for some reason everyone tends to just skip over this. And the Hdmi Out is actually in 4K and you can actually get 10-bit, which is pretty good, although some of you might actually argue that, oh, what's the point if there's no C-Log? Well, I mean, if you get a 10-bit, it'll make it easier for you to actually grade your footage. There's going to be a lot more breadth for you to play with. Okay, now the magical thing. Okay, you get this on the Panasonic cameras, you know, like the GH5, G7, and the older 80D cameras. This magic thing is called a flip screen, and this is so great because I mean, it comes with so many different angles, right? I get to go from down low, I get to go from down high. I don't really need to put my face on the floor anymore if I want to get a low angle shot, and that is great. In the resolutions department, we have 1080 in 25p, 50p, and 100p. The 100p is, well, for slow motion, right? And for 4K, we only have 25, but I mean, that's fine because when you're using this camera, you're going to be mostly using it for a lot of interviews because of the dual pixel autofocus. And if you're going to shoot an interview, you are not going to shoot in 50p anyway. So, well, 4K 25p is totally fine. But unlike the 1DX Mark III, you know, where it shoots in 4K 50p, this just gives me just the bare minimum of what I need. Okay, when it comes to the slow motion, you actually have to go through the settings and go choose the slow motion option. And they will give you 100p. And the slow motion is it feels organic. It looks organic. It's, well, I mean, it's so much better than the Sony one. The Sony one, there's a lot of artifacts, at least to me personally. And yeah, it's pretty good. I've used this for most of my client work, you know, and I'm very happy with it. It's so much better than the EOS R. What about the drawbacks? Well, you get dual pixel, as I said earlier. You get dual pixel in 1080, you get in 4K, but you do not get in slow motion. You have to do manual focus when you're shooting in slow motion. And to me, that is fine. The life hack here is that if you want autofocus in slow motion, you got to select the point that you want to kind of autofocus. You got to hold down the trigger and just hold it as you're moving in. And that's it. That's how I did some of my autofocus shots for some of my projects. But other than that, I'm just manual focusing. Manual focusing can be better for you if you get a lot of practice. Okay, lastly, this is so obvious because the Canon 90D uses the LPE6 battery, and this battery is the same as the one that you get on your older 5D Mark III cameras, your old 80D, and even the EOS R. And the battery life is so good. And because I actually have those older cameras, I have a lot of this laying around, and that saves me a lot of money and time. For the conclusion on this camera, if you are considering something good for your money. If you're considering about something that's affordable for actual professional client work, then I would strongly advise on getting the 90D compared to maybe the M6. The M6 is good, but this provides more functionality in the audio department. Okay, now for the tips. The first thing that you should do is get the USB charger. Hold on. Let me get that to show you guys. Okay, now for the tips on how you should maximize your Canon camera. The first tip is to get a USB charger. This USB charger is going to be so useful when you're traveling or when you're just out on shoot, because you can't really lug about this huge ass, I wouldn't say huge, but I'll have to say like a medium-sized charger which might actually take up space. If you actually get a USB charger like this Nightcore one, it's a dual charger, you can actually monitor, you know. It's a USB charger, so you can actually charge it to your power bank, you can charge it to your multiple wherever you can put on your desktop, your laptop, you know, and it's going to work fine. And it's going to save you a lot of time because it's going to dual charge. Now for the second tip, adjust your profile. One, you could actually use neutral profile or faithful profile. Bring down the contrast, you know, adjust the saturation a bit, maybe put a bit lower so it'll be easier for you to grade in post. Or you can just download CineStyle. CineStyle is a pretty old profile that's been created for the Canon cameras, and it's pretty easy. All you have to do is just open up your Canon Utilities app, install the profile into your camera, and you're done. The benefits of having all this profile is that, as I said earlier, you can actually grade easier in post. Because sometimes you might actually lose your highlights, you know, you won't be able to see the shadows, and you need to adjust it to what you want. So having these profiles or adjusting your profile, you can actually maximize your camera. This third tip is to use IPB. Because you don't really have a lot of hard drive space, it's going to cost you money if you were to shoot all eye, and it takes up a lot of your memory and your hard drive and all that. So if you actually shoot in IPB, as long as you get your exposures correct, the settings correct, it's going to look great. And you don't really need to adjust as much as possible. You just need to adjust the saturation, put a bit of contrast, and that's it. Because if you were to actually adjust your image a lot, that means you did not shoot well. And most of the time, if your client work, you're not going to do anything drastic. You're just going to up the contrast, you know, make it look pretty, make it look like it's white balanced properly, and yeah, you're done. And if you need the artistic look, then yeah, go ahead, just shoot in all eye. Because if you're shooting all eye, then make sure you just shoot in short clips, you know, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and that's it. And that is how you can save space. And the IPB or the new 90D is actually surprisingly good. The IPB in the 90D is H.264 compared to the new 1DX Mark III, which shoots in H.265. Hopefully in like the next update for the Canon cameras, they actually let you shoot in H.265 compared to H.264. But either way, IPB in the 90D is pretty good. Okay, the fourth tip is to get a good lens. For me, I've been using the Sigma 18-35 f1.8, and it has stayed on my camera for most of the time. Every time I would go on a project shoot, right, I will just find myself using only the 18-35 and 50mm, and once in a while I'll use my 100mm macro lens, and that is it. So, well, all you need to do is just get a really good sharp lens. I will advise on getting the Sigma 18-35 because it's very sharp, and yeah, it'll just make your images look way better. Remember that if your image sucks, it's probably because of your settings or your lens. The camera, right? It's really just the recording body, and that's it. Okay, tip number 5. Make sure you actually set your shutter speed correctly. Remember that if you were to shoot in a 25p, you got to shoot double of shutter speed, you know, like it's in 50. If you're shooting in 50p, then make sure your shutter speed is in 100. But if you're shooting slow-mo, you can just be a bit more cautious and shoot in like 250 shutter speed. You know, slightly more than double. If you want to shoot in like 500, go ahead. Because one thing that we don't really need is motion blur in slow motion. So what's the point, right? Tip number 6, setting your ISO. One rule, just set your ISO as low as possible. There's so-called this native ISO or whatever, which for some cameras doesn't matter, like 90D. You can always try to set your cameras at 200 ISO, 250 ISO, ideally it will be 320, 640 or 800. But if you can set your ISO as low as possible. If you need to shoot in an auto ISO because you're shooting like run and gun events or whatever, then make sure you set your auto ISO settings. Lowest 200, highest 1600. You could go to 3200, but you just want to be cautious because sometimes with depending on the lens, the shutter speed and all the other settings, at 3200, you might actually get some grain. Tip number 7. Trust the auto white balance in this camera. Because when you're running and gunning, you don't really have the time to, set your white balance on the fly. You could actually do some presets and stuff, but who has time for that? So if you can, set your auto white balance to white priority. That is very important because if you were to put in ambience priority, most of your shots might be yellow or too yellow, and you're gonna have a hard time in post-production. So if you can, just set your auto white balance to white priority. I have to be honest, I'm really surprised by the auto white balance on this. It's pretty accurate for most time, but if you have trust issues, with auto white balance, then make sure you set your white balance to 5600 Kelvin. It's just the Kelvins for daylight, and that is if you want to see colors that are like true to your eye at that point of time. And yeah, that's it. 7 tips to maximize the Canon camera. Hope you found that useful. Hope you found this video useful. So what are your thoughts on an NTD? Leave your comments below and don't forget to subscribe. I'm Iwan. Thanks for watching. Okay, so we have the so we have I don't know if I'm actually looking at the screen on top on the lens most of the time. We'll see how someone will gonna comment, say this video sucks, but that's fine. Whatever negative piece of shit. Thanks. Gotta punish her. Tip number 5. Share. The last tip number 7. Number 7, not like a loser. And I'm gonna cut out the end. Leave your comments in the comments. Okay. Yeah, I think the video actually went well. Sort of, I hope. Well, just let me know. And if you hate this video, give it a like. If you love this video, give it a subscribe. And lastly, thanks for watching. I'm Iwan Lim.